program features language not suitable for all audiences, and the expressed opinions found within this program are a reflection of those who feature on the PopCulture Effect podcast. Welcome to the PopCulture Effect. I'm Rockin Rob, and on this show I bring my closest friends together to talk about all of the news happening in our pop culture world around us. We are joined today by all my friends that I love so dearly, and we are joined today by Gemini.
Hello.
Blaze.
Heyo.
Menace.
Hello.
And Angel.
Heyo.
Anyways, another news day, another boatload of just nonsensical stuff that I genuinely would think would come from a fever dream. And I think the only way to start is to talk about the odd rise of AI music. Now, yes, I am totally talking about the SpongeBob songs that have been circulating, where SpongeBob is literally dropping the fattest bars, being the sickest rapper. Oh, if you guys haven't got a chance, go check out the SpongeBob raps. They're amazing.
No, I've been shown, Plankton singing Shine Bright like the Diamond.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, for some reason,
Oh my god.
Plankton's AI voice works with like every edgy, emo, or just crazy rock song.
See, and then there's me. I checked out Butters and Cartman singing Never Essence.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, no.
Can you see to my eye? Like open doors. So good. There was even the one song that kind of makes me a little sad, but also
That actually
like
was a pretty good Cartman impression.
good.
Alright, give you props for that.
Guys. No, but
I was gonna say, there's another one that I've been being shown a lot, and it's Neko Ark's AI cover.
oh god. But yeah, even like putting aside the character voices that gets brought into AI, even real world humans that have passed away have had AI music. I think there have been some Elvis ones. There was one with XXXTentacion and Juice WRLD. They did the AI version did a collab. A lot of Freddie Mercury. But yeah, I think it's just really crazy. I've seen some comments on the YouTube videos that are like, this is seriously putting pressure on the music industry because these vocal recognition softwares and these vocal repetition softwares, I guess is a better term to use, are just able to replicate these voices so, obviously you're never going to have a perfect one-to-one. There's obviously going to be some syllables, some words that they won't be able to get the human touch on, but it's scary. It's really scary for the music industry. Yeah, I just think that AI music is just a big problem, but I don't know, what are your guys' opinions on just the cavalcade of nonsense that AI music has created?
Well, for me, in my opinion,
I think it's gonna be meme culture.
I was gonna say, in the sense of using it for covers and memes, perfectly fine. I don't give a shit about it. It's funny, ha-has. That's fine. But if if people are legitimately then gonna try and use that to make, licensed songs, that's where we run into the problem then with the AI generated art. And as an artist myself, I find that, I find that to be demeaning almost. So if it branches out into that I feel is a big no-no and shouldn't be done. But if it's just for shit posting, who fucking cares? They've been doing shit like that for a while now. I mean, while it's becoming more polished and everything, I mean, they've been making shitpost covers where they splice together voice lines and everything for years. That's fine and everything. So when it's used for shitpost,
Or people do voice impressions.
yeah.
I don't know. From my perspective, I get the perspective on the respect of art and the respect of the artists, and the fact that AI can kind of encroach on their overall image, overall delivery of who they are. But you got I don't know. From my point of view, I just think it's really interesting to have these opportunities to have this music that, in a sense, wouldn't even exist. I look at it as a creative thing, but that's just me being a fanboy viewer.
Hey, that's fair. Like Gemini said, it's literally just on the context of how it's used.
Right. But even then, the song that I've been listening to that had AI voices of X and Juice, I genuinely really enjoy that song, and I don't know if it's actually if it's good to like that song, because of the connotations of, because it is a creation of a song of two dead people that two vocalists that have passed on. So I don't. It's a really weird gray area. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think I don't know. I think it's gonna be interesting to see how this AI music and how accurate AI is getting and how it's gonna affect the music industry and heck even animation because there are some crazy things that AI is influencing nowadays.
Yeah.
But going from computer generated products and content to a product made by the man, the myth himself, Matthew Lillard. Gemini, take us through what Shaggy's got in store for us.
So, if you are a fan of Matthew Lillard, D&D, and bourbon whiskey, you might be interested in this new product that the actor Matthew Lillard is planning on or is currently, I'm not too sure yet, on selling, in which it will be a D&D inspired line of bourbon whiskeys.
Everyone drink responsibly?
Yes, drink responsibly and of the age that you are in the country you live in. For America, it's 21. In Canada, it's 18. 18. Okay, yes. Tragically, though, if you're in Canada, you can't get it. It's only going to be sold in the U.S.
Well, we got to do some good old fashioned.
He's gonna have someone.
smuggling.
He's gonna have one of us mail it to him.
I mean, you could, but anyway, so it's going to be called Quest's End. That is the line, and it is, backed by Matthew Lillard, which, that's not a very uncommon thing. As someone who does work in little tidbit of my personal life, I do work in the business of selling alcohol in that aspect. Won't get too into it because that's personal, but anyway, so that is a very common thing of famous actors or just famous people in general where they endorse or create, quote unquote, they don't often usually do, it's just more they back their money into it, spirits and alcohol, such as like Ryan Reynolds' aviation gin, Ted Emana with The Rock and everything. It's a very common thing, but I really like how this is it's the man himself, Matthew Lillard, and it's also D&D themed, and it is by, I believe, the Find Familiar Spirits, which was founded by Lillard, screenwriter Justin Ware, and they're also partnering them with Blue Run Spirits, which is another company that distributes alcohol and everything. This fall, they will be launching Quest's End, which it will be a series of 16 collectible versions of blended bourbon whiskeys. The bourbon special bottles will be accompanied by chapters of a new D&D inspired saga written by Kate Welch, a veteran dungeon master and game designer. It will be sold within a 4-year period. With every 3 months, they will release a new themed expression ranging from warg, rogue, warlock, dragon. The bottles will include D&D specific references like a stopper with an image of a D20 compass rose on the top and labels that keep track of hit points. And even signing onto the website, which has an age gate question to ensure only adult visitors, asks the visitor which of the several races of creatures from the game they are. So like if you're old enough to be on the website, which is very common on booze selling websites, they want to make sure you are of drinking age. The biggest downside, two downsides is one, these will be relatively small batch whiskeys, which that pretty much means they will only be made in very small batches of bottles, and so they will be very, very hard to come by, and because of that, they will be selling for $150 each.
Oh my god.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a good bottle of bourbon here in Canada.
I was about to say, I was gonna try and collect all of them, but $150 a piece? I'm probably just gonna go with one.
And another thing, you will not be able to buy them in store. They will only be sold online. So if you live somewhere that has very strict alcohol laws, like myself, you probably will not be able to get it, which kind of sucks. And it'll only, as I said, it won't be available outside of the United States, and will only be able to be sold in 41 states in the country.
That kind of worries me about it being sold only online through the website that's sponsoring it, because scalpers are going to jump on this like a motherfucker, and no one will be able to buy it that actually wants it, because it's going to be $150, and then they're going to be reselling it for like $300 immediately.
Well, they might, but technically, and I'm not sure if this is my state's laws or if it's across the country, but I think that is illegal to resell booze. I think that's bootlegging, but I don't know if that's just my state's law or if that's across the country, because it's all weird. Like I said, for me, where I live, we have very strict laws, but apparently they're doing this, one, because of the fact it is small batch, and two, they kind of know that they might not be able to compete with a lot of like other very like high brand whiskey companies that are already small batch, such as Blanton's, Eagle Rare, you know, Buffalo Trace. Those are ones, dear God, I'm so tired of hearing those names, but you know, those are ones that people are always like, you know, they're crawling, they crawl out of the woodwork when they sniff that it's around, you know, they're like roaches. But you know, they're also trying to let's see, yeah, they said it's an antiquated business model with the spirits industry, and it's really hard to find shelf space, so that's why they're not going to be selling in stores, because of the fact that distribution can be a very big problem, especially already with small batch bourbons. And so I don't know if the first one, which I think the first one released will be Paladin. That is the first one that's releasing. I'm not too sure if that one's already out yet or not, but I mean,
it's already sold out.
Oh,
I am on
okay.
the web.
Wait,
it's
what?
the RWBY Liqueur website that's selling it, correct? It looks like there might be a few different websites that are selling it, but I know
I was gonna say this website says it's sold out. Well, honestly, it's entirely possible that Paladin might already be sold out, which, to be fair, I'm not surprised if that's the case. Whiskey snobs, they jump when it comes to high-end rare bourbons, so I'm not surprised if it's already sold out, because there are probably some whiskey snobs out there who do also enjoy D&D and probably would have followed this. So, you know, I guess it's more, if it is already sold out, then it said that this will be a 4-year thing where every 3 months they will drop new, you know, another branch of it, or like a new one. So like it could be like, you know, Quests and Rogue, Quests and Druid or something. So essentially, if this is something you're interested in, definitely keep an eye out. But you know, it is quite a pricey bottle of bourbon. $150 just for a 750, a fifth of whiskey. As someone who doesn't like whiskey, as someone who doesn't drink too often, as someone who sells this shit on the daily, hell nah, ain't worth it for me. But I mean, I understand there are people who are collectors out there who just like to have the bottle, and I get that. So
whenever they do the one for Sorcerer or Warlock, I'm absolutely buying either one of those if I get the opportunity.
I was gonna say, and I go for it because I did think this was really cool when I saw it, because you know, I'm a D&D dork myself. I really love Matthew Lillard, and I like my job when it comes to what I do. So I'm like, hell yeah, all 3 things in my life that connect. Why not?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I mean, and like the picture, like the bottle itself is also really cool. It's square shaped, and then it's got like, you know, Quest's End. It looks like it's got a dragon on like the neck of the bottle, like a dragon's head. And then because like I said, they only have the Paladin one out right now, so it's got like this really fancy like Paladin shield on it on the bottle. It's a really pretty bottle, and it is true on the side as you drink it, it shows like these numbers of like your, you know, your hit points and everything, and I think that's really cool. And also another quick thing about this, I didn't know Matthew Lillard was a D&D nerd. I didn't know that about him. Apparently a lot of it, he's friends with a lot of the people that played in Critical Role. Whoa. But yes, if you like whiskey, D&D, and Matthew Lillard, keep an eye out for Quest's End.
Yeah, moving on to an interesting piece of news. Subset, I noticed that this is not only a story about a movie, but also a music album. So please take us through Deathlock.
Yes, you heard it right. On August 22nd, a movie and Deathlock's album, 4th album, was released. Now, the movie in question, Metalocalypse, RWBY of Doomstar, is a sequel to another movie way back when, of 2013, called Requiem of the Doomstar. And the album, I'm not too invested in the Deathlock album. It's been a while. The only ones I can remember listening to were the first 2, but I dabbled with the album a little bit. Oh, and it's what you expect. It's metal, you know, it's based off what you see in the show. And the movie that I watched definitely captured what I remember when I was a wee lad. When I really was going through it, watching the show and whatnot, it was insane in a typical Metalocalypse fashion. It went through a lot of emotions. It went through so many hoops, and it made sense in its own strange way.
I mean, I remember being a fan of it when it was originally coming out, so I'm glad to hear that it kind of had a resurgence in the public eye.
I don't know, like I'm trying to remember because they also released a season not too long ago, but I I haven't delved into that yet because I only heard about the teaser for the movie, and then finding out it's also the time when they will release their album on the day the movie was releasing on. If you guys would like to take a listen to them, you can. There's like 11 songs in this album, and it's what you expect from metal, but it's actually pretty good. I've been jamming out since then slightly. Because obviously I haven't been listening to a lot of metal as of recently. But the movie really brought back some characters that I didn't thought I'll see again. And really, really took the story that at last I remember when it ended. It got nuts. And I'm not sure what else they can do to continue on this. So this could be the last thing we ever see of Metalocalypse. So quiet in here. Like, none of you guys watch this.
No, I never really watched Metalocalypse.
That's
The
upsetting.
only thing I know about the series is the meme that went about them all not having father figures, and one of them's just like, fucking love my dad. Like, that's awesome. He is like the heavy metal son, and his dad is just like a normal average father in like a polo shirt who is just like enjoying the things that his son is into.
With the great lead singer being the only one with actual stable family.
I'm very glad to hear that you were able to get a lot out of this experience, because I know for a lot of people when they have that moment of a resurgence when it comes to IP, it's a really good feeling inside, you know?
Makes me miss the good old days when shows are actually shows.
Yep. Well, going to the good new days. We actually have a crossover of two IPs that you could say they've had a wealth of fan support. Blaze, take us through this crossover extravaganza.
Yeah, so earlier this year we got the first part movie of the RWBY X Justice League animated film, where it had members of the Justice League basically get transported into the RWBY world, which, for those of you who aren't too familiar with RWBY, it is a 3D animated series made by originally Rooster Teeth. The newest season is being airing on Crunchyroll. They have 9 seasons out for right now, where he follows a group of huntsmen and huntresses as they fight to protect the world from creatures that are called Grimm. But basically, the first part has the Justice League characters: Superman, Flash, Wonder Woman, Batman, Green Lantern, and Cyborg, and Vixen. All of them get transported to the RWBY world, and their bodies and powers modified to fit their world as they try to figure out how their powers work again in this new place that they're not familiar with. And we just got the trailer for part 2 of this crossover, where it's going to be flipped and the RWBY characters are going to be transported into the DC world, and they're going to be dealing the same issues with that the Justice League members had, where they're trying to figure out how their powers work in this world and how they actually have to act as superheroes instead of huntsmen and huntresses. All of this really started off when Rooster Teeth actually came to DC about wanting to do their own comics for RWBY and get them published through DC, and those comics ended up getting a pretty big following to the point where they actually did a comic line of this RWBY X Justice League crossover, which the part 1 and part 2 movies are based off of, that have gained a pretty good traction, and a lot of people are in love with this crossover.
I mean, I know I always appreciate when different IPs have a crossover, because when I was looking at the trailer, I was like, man, this is literally a modern day Jimmy Timmy Power Hour right here. Eventually, we'll be able to go back to the OG Game Theory crossover videos and just make an even wider web and connect everything.
Yeah, part 1 is already available for purchase, both physically along with digitally on HBO Max, or just Max from the rebrand they've done. And part 2 will be available to purchase digitally October 17th, and a 4K and Blu-ray version of it physically will be available on October 31st.
Ooh, so not even that far away.
Yeah, no, it's coming by pretty quick, especially since we just had part 1 earlier this year.
Nice. Well, I hope that you are able to enjoy it when it comes out.
Oh, absolutely. I am a huge comic nerd, and I'm also a big fan of the RWBY franchise, so this is something I'm really excited about.
Nice. Well, going from the fan favorite pick movie for you, Blaze, I know in literally the last recording that we did, I said that Zenless Zone Zone would be my favorite game, but no, Stop Dead is my favorite game, you guys.
Zenless Zone Zero,
Zero.
because you
Zenless
got the
Zone
name
Zero.
wrong.
Yeah. So Stop Dead was another first-person action game that was announced at Gamescom, and this is a mix of Cluster Truck, Super Hot, Mirror's Edge. It's this really fast-paced game that really hammers home a sense of speedrunning. Its kind of whole thing is just speedrunning. I think there's other physics-based platforming you can do with picking up objects, throwing them, and throwing yourself off them. I'm not 100% sure if that's momentum-based or whatever, but yeah, game looks incredible. The first 7 minutes of gameplay were showed off, and like honestly, it looked so smooth. It looked like the game I've been pretty much waiting for since I finished Mirror's Edge and Cluster Truck. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and Stop Dead will be officially available on Steam and the Epic Games Store on October 5th. So this is going to be a PC-only game, so you know I'm going to be logged into my PC playing this thing. But yeah, check out Stop Dead. It's a really interesting concept when it comes to their approach to this kind of first-person action brawler type game. But yeah, going from one game that I am genuinely so excited about to another game that I am personally excited about. Blaze, what is going on with this anime Spider-Man Mugen project?
Yeah. So, Project Mugen is a new game that's coming out by NetEase and Naked Rain, which pre-registration is already available for it. There is no release date yet, but we have gotten some gameplay trailers, and it is going to be coming out on PS4, PS5, PC, and mobile. Doesn't look like there's any announcements that would be going on Xbox, but a lot of these type of games usually never end up on Xbox because, quite frankly, PC and PlayStation kind of hoard those games. But Project Mugen is going to be a free-to-play open-world action RPG where you're basically going around as this group of characters following their stories in the world and using their powers to defeat things known as chaos events, where these creatures and other types of monsters will appear from people's imaginations, and they're trying to figure out mysteries around it to stop these chaos events. The fighting style with all the characters are all very unique. You have one character who's like riding on like a motorcycle and using it to fight. One has like telekinetic powers. One is using like a katana that can also act as a bow. The other one is literally just using a gun.
Wait, did you say a katana that acts as a bow?
Yeah, in one of the videos, like one of the long black-haired girl character had a katana that literally just turned into like an energy bow from the sheath of the katana.
Ooh, that sounds dope, actually.
But a lot of people are making comparisons to the open world aspect and how you travel through it. Very similar, like you were saying, to the new Spider-Man games. The flow of movement, how you're walking on walls, how you're jumping around, grapple hooking on stuff, the movement of it. They did heavily get some inspiration through how the movement and traveling works in the Spider-Man games, trying to traverse through this big city.
I noticed that immediately. It looks awesome too.
It does look like a lot of fun. The action looks great. It looks like these characters have a lot of diversity to them that makes each one unique to play, and each one will have... Seems like how it's going to go is each one's going to have their own personal stories alongside the main story, which is going to be nice to be able to do a lot of side stuff with just figuring out these characters more.
But Blaze, I'm happy to hear you're excited for Project Mugen. I know I am. to keep the gaming news going, Subset, I know you've been particularly excited for this Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, and why don't you take us through this, because I know eventually we're all going to be going through this together as we play it.
Well, yes, this game has been teased for a while, and it's finally out. People have finally have their mittens on it, and as far as I can tell, it's been doing great. Specifically, taking a few people from Dead by Daylight. It's been a time. I haven't played a lot of it, just enough to really get a bearings, but it's based on the movies, given by the name, so it's similar to how the Friday the 13th game worked. Based on a franchise, they make a game at it, but instead, this one doing something different than most of these games, and there's multiple killers with multiple people running around, and each killer is based off the Sawyer family, aka the cannibals from the movies. You can play as Leatherface, Johnny, Sissy, the Hitchhiker, and if I remember, they just added a new character in, but I don't remember the name on top of my head at the moment. So they're still adding new things here and there. The survivors you play as are from the first film. This is taking place a little bit before the first film. It's still taking place during the first film, but not how things played out in that. In this one, the group of friends are looking for one of the girls who is related to one of the other girls of the group, a sister. And let's just say, well, they found more than they could chew. While in this game, you are running around, depending on which map, either a farmhouse or an underground home, if I remember. And you gotta work your way out and escape from the killers.
Ooh.
And so far, people have been enjoying themselves and making their builds with each survivor or each killer. They've been going at each other, trying to see if they can kill them or they can escape. And with Dead by Daylight current stuff going on, specifically with the Alien collab they're doing, I've been just seeing a lot of people from that fan base hopping over to this because it's similar, but comparing to most games, it's really fun, balanced in some regard, and I haven't experienced too many bugs, so that's a plus. And I hope at some point you can, play more than just the people that we saw in the first film. Maybe they might add in more survivors from the other films, but at this point, we're not too sure. I know you guys would be up for to try it out, but I don't know if all of us can play all at the same time. It's all 5 of us.
I'm sure we'll be able to figure something out, and
I
I'm
thought
sure
it was I thought it was like you could. There were a lot of people. I thought it was like a 4v6 or.
It was 3v4, 3 killers and 4 survivors.
I'm sure we could figure something out.
Yeah,
And-
easy. We just get rid of Robbie.
Great, awesome, cool. I'll just go, and I'll go play Spyro for the rest of my life.
As far as I can tell, this game may have a long shelf life than most games nowadays, and I hope it keeps up that way, because it has a lot of charm and has some fun, though it can be a bit repetitive after a while, but I have hope that content is just over the horizon.
I hope with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, I hope it has a lot more life to it than the Friday the 13th.
I feel like nobody gave a shit about the Friday the 13th game when it came out.
Whoa, people did give a shit. The only problem with the Friday the 13th game is they didn't add much, they didn't do a lot of balancing.
Yeah, there was no lifespan to the game. It literally
It kind
died
of
on
seemed like it
arrival.
never got past its beta stage.
And so this one, on the other hand, there's a lot to work with. I haven't experienced too much connection issues or bugs, and depending on who you play as, they have really broadened the horizon. With each killer, there's different play styles you can do with them. It's similar to how the survivors are, similar to how they, some of people who play Dead by Daylight, how those survivors work with their own little perks. But in this one, some characters are better at some things than the other character. Specifically, if you played one guy called Lillard, so Leand, some shit like that. He's the jock type he's the only one who can quote unquote stun the killers by shoulder checking them. He legit can knock down some of the killers or just stun Leatherface. Leatherface is like a massive being, absolute unit of a man. I will recommend, if you have a chance, look up the voice lines when they stumble upon the sister, Maria. That's the one they're looking for. And as far as I can tell, the two voice actors who did Anna and Johnny, or what, Sunny, they had bills to pay because they put the acting chops in their voice lines for when they discovered the sister. And boy, does it tug at the heartstrings. 'Cause you can really hear the sorrow in their tone, specifically with the sister's discovery of her deceased corpse of a sister now after what the family did. So I recommend take a look at the voice lines and enjoy yourself.
And he spoils the game.
Well, it's not really a game. It's part of the set piece. You can find it. You can find it really early on in the main house. You just gotta escape.
And while we're talking about old school horror icons coming back in video game form, I just want to mention that another announcement that came out of Gamescom was Killer Clowns from Outer Space, the game. So that happened.
I haven't seen much from there. Only little teasers.
That got announced a while ago, but the gameplay trailer just happened at Gamescom.
Yeah. Good point. It was a gameplay trailer that was showed off. Anyways, but I'm like I said, I'm really glad that Texas Chainsaw Massacre is finally getting a game. You know, it's been kind of a dry spell for horror survival games ever since Dead by Daylight kind of completely took it over with all its
not long there, but you know, we got story games, but something cooperative with more than just, you know, you on the other end. The killers can communicate now. That's scary.
I just think it'll be interesting to see how they implement certain gameplay aspects. I'd love to see more gameplay to learn the actual like different roles that you take on as the survivor or the killer, especially because there's multiple killers. Because I feel like usually in these survival type games, usually it's one killer and the rest are survivors. So it'll be interesting to see this kind of team-based combat. We've got another video game, and Gemini, why don't you take us through Nightingale?
So Nightingale is a game that is going to be set for early access release in February of 2024. So boy howdy, another game for me in 2024 February if you listened to last week's episode. Anyway,
everything's in February.
Honestly. So Nightingale is a Victorian survival game that has lineage from Mass Effect and Dragon Age. And what I mean by that is it is going to be the first title from a new studio called Inflexion Games, which was founded by a BioWare veteran, Aaron Flynn, but it's Aaron Aaryn. So I think I'm saying that right. So that's a weird way. That's an interesting way to spell Aaron. Anyway, who was a general manager at BioWare for several years, overseeing the launches of both Mass Effect and Dragon Age. So this will be this studio's first game that will, like I said, be dropping in early access in February 2024. There's not too much of it that I have seen, as you know, it's not out yet, but it is definitely it says a shared world survival crafting game. Nightingale is set in what looks like a fantastical version of the Victorian era, where explorers armed with gas lamps and rifles take on mysterious fey creatures. It is playable solo or in co-op, so that's interesting. So if you want to play with your friends, it sounds like you could play this game with your friends. Maybe this group could take a dip in it perchance if they so wish to with me.
Take a f***ing hint.
And so, if you also don't want to do that, you can, have NPCs. Apparently also it says something about like you can build estates and hire NPCs to do menial work for you. So I wonder if they're going to have like a, what is that? Not necessarily life sim, but like a management kind of system to it as well. Like how you kind of can in other RPGs. Kind of, I think Skyrim has a little bit of it, but that's more going in depth if you mod the game, where you can kind of have your own estate run with like servants and everything. So it looks like they kind of have something similar to that. It looks like base building in a sense. But yeah, it will be on early access on Steam and also the Epic Games Store at $29.99. So that's actually not a pretty bad price for this game, honestly. So about 30 to 35 in CAD. That's not a bad price considering most games are dropping for like 70 nowadays, especially for early access. But I'm pretty excited because not only is it like a new kind of RPG game, but it is from people who have worked on one of my favorite games of Dragon Age. So I have some pretty decent hopes for it. It says that they chose this setting of Nightingale because it's inspired by Flynn's desire to get away from the traditional fantasy and sci-fi settings that BioWare has been kind of like doing for a long time now. Which, I mean, honestly, I kind of like the idea of going for a more Victorian styled setting for an RPG game, because I think the last time I played a game that had a Victorian setting theme to it was Bloodborne, and that game is old at this point.
Well, I mean, I'm glad to hear that it is a game that you are excited for. I know I didn't look much into Nightingale, but what I saw, I was at least intrigued by. So we'll see how it goes.
I was gonna say, yeah, it obviously they're not like, fully getting away from like the fantasy aspect, because it literally says you're fighting fey creatures. So like, of course, it's still gonna have like fantasy, but I do like how they're moving away from, it seems like, more that medieval aspect of it and more pushing slightly more modern. Because I will admit, something that's always kind of like tickled my interest was fantasy in a more modern-esque setting. Granted, Victorian era isn't that modern, but it definitely is a big time jump from like ye old knights and swords to, gas lamps. And now it's like ye old gas lamps and my flintlock pistol.
Hey, that's still, pretty nice. You know what I mean?
I'm not bashing it. I'm just saying it's a very nice like change of pace and everything, because if they are going to have like magic in a sense, that'd be kind of interesting, of like a magic infused like gun and everything.
Can't wait to shoot a bay in the face. A bad one, not a good one. I mean, well, granted, Faye's up in the air, to be honest.
I was gonna say their alignment is up in the air because, they're more chaotic rather than like evil or good. They're just like, they're shitheads.
Never trust them.
It depends on how you treat them in a sense.
Or how they view you, that they could see you. They could see your true intentions.
They can smell you.
I can smell you. Oh, but another thing, actually about this game is that it was delayed 3 times.
Ooh. Oh.
Wow.
That was something I forgot to mention. Yeah, it was delayed 3 times, and it now finally does have a proper release date.
Just something that slipped your mind. Oh, it almost got canceled 3 times.
Not canceled, just delayed, because it was, well, here's the thing. It originally was announced to launch in 2022. What kind of happened in the time leading up to 2022?
Nothing. We all had a wonderful
Backstreet
time.
Boys
And we
reunion
all...
tour.
Yeah, so
Backstreet
some things happened during that period of time. So then, since it was probably announced to launch in 2022, they more than likely hit a big wall with some certain things that affected the world. So then they pushed it back to 2023. It doesn't say like why it was delayed, because it was in early 2023. Maybe they ran into some other snags. Then they were going to push it to fall, but now they have a proper release date of February 2024, 22nd of 2024, which for me personally, I honestly have no qualms with when a game studio feels that they need to push their game back, because in my opinion, that shows that they're taking thought and care into the craft. They're not just trying to shove something out, as with most game developers do nowadays. That shows that they probably realized, oh, the current build of this game isn't as properly polished as we'd like it to be, so maybe we should just hold it back, work out those bugs and kinks that are probably really, really bad, and then we can release it. I'm fine with that. It can be frustrating. There's this one game I've had my eye on Steam for like 2.5 years now, and it was supposed to be released back in like May of 2021, and it now has just a to be determined date, because I think they're still trying to polish the game, and it's frustrating, but I'm like, you know what? If that means that it's going to be a good game, then I'm fine with that.
You know how gaming companies are. They're just gonna release it and just fix it with patches and updates.
Well, yeah, that's normally what does happen. I mean, that's probably what happened with this
Get
game.
out of that.
No, what I mean is, yes, that is still normal, where they will release a game and they will have patches, but what the bad thing is when it's a half-baked game and then they fix it with patches. If it's a game where like, they released it and then, in playing the full release, they're like, oh shit, we do have some minor bugs, and then they fix them, that's fine. That's completely fine. So
That's fine.
yeah, if that happens, that's fine. But yeah, when it's a half-baked game and then like 5 months later they're like, oh hey, here's a patch.
Here's that other half of the game you ordered.
Here's that other half of the game that you bought like 6 months ago, and hey, we just realized here's the rest of the content that we finally decided to get around to doing something with. We're gonna sell that to you for about $30 as DLC. That's when it's bad. When it's hey, we released our game and a month later you guys have been reporting that there's some minor problems problems with the game. Okay, we'll get around to fixing that. That's fine. Because, you know, yeah, they have testers, but it's not like they can be able to, like, find every single bug in the game. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. And honestly, I just only recently found out about this game. I didn't even know about it till just now. But when I did, I'm like, oh, okay, that seems interesting. Especially when I saw that someone who worked on Dragon Age was a part of this. I'm like, ooh, this will help sate me while I impatiently wait for Dragon Age Dreadwolf.
Oh my god.
Hey man, when I get more news about that, you know damn well I'm gonna be talking about it on here nonstop.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. Now, going from our final Gamescom showcase game, I think it's only appropriate that we talk about the other showcase that went on. So, Menace, why don't you take us through what happened during the Destiny 2 showcase?
Well, so this was their showcase showing off what's going to happen in the big final expansion, the end of an era, as one would say. So first off, they talked about location. You are actually going inside of the Traveler, the big good being, I guess you could say, that we've been seeing. We're actually going inside of it, and we are seeing that the Witness went inside of it first, and we are actually seeing that just being in there is actually changing the inside of it. And like actually how they explain it is that once you go in there, you will see the Traveler react to you entering, and it'll essentially show you bits and pieces of your journey that you've been on as a Guardian in the landscape as it forms. And as you get closer to the Witness's side of this area, you will like see things start to get demented and like being segmented apart and like dissected, stuff like that. The next thing that they covered in it is the season of the Witch, which is the season that is going on in Destiny right now, which has been amazing. I don't know how much the other Destiny players here, Blaze and Subset, have gone into it lore wise.
I fucking love this new season. I think it's probably the best one of this year so far.
It has been fun. We get to see one of our old recurring characters, Eris, finally take her step up of becoming the next Hive God, which the Hive are one of the main races playing into this whole big story of this game franchise. And we are actually helping her become more powerful by fighting these enemies over and over again. Third thing that they have talked about is the new raid that's going to be reprised next Friday. One of the raids returning from Destiny 1, Crota's End. The second raid that ever came out for Destiny is going to be remade. It is actually one of the most terrifying to this day, at least for me. You go into the center of the moon, which was hollowed out by the Hive race, and it's like you start off in this pitch black dark area with only lanterns like off in the distance to guide you while you're being chased down by this horde of enemies. The next thing they talked about was for Final Shape. They are going to release one new super for each of the classes. Respectfully, Void is going for the Titan, and they are getting Twilight Arsenal, where you get this axe, you hop up into the air and you throw it, but that's not the end of the super, because it sucks enemies in and explodes and leaves the axe on the ground for your teammates to pick up. So all three of you can pick up an axe and then use it after the super is over as well.
That's gonna be fun. I'm wondering if it's gonna be able to do like the same damage as just like a normal heavy sword, or if it's gonna be a little bit more powerful than a heavy sword.
I hope it does. I'm hoping that it also has, for the heavy attack, it has something to like give it that super kind of feel to it, like a void slam that kind of sucks enemies in, and then you can swing the axe and hit them or something like that.
Or each hit weakens enemies.
Yeah, the solar for the Warlock is getting it's a somewhat revamp to an old one, but not really. In Destiny 1, you'd have this ult called Sunsinger, where you could either pop it to res yourself from the dead, or you can use it when you were alive, and it would overcharge your ability regeneration. So you'd be shooting off melees and throwing grenades all over the place. But what's cool in this one is that they made it to where your melee gets double the projectiles, so you're just shooting fire off everywhere. And they have this new grenade that flies around from different groups to enemies as like a phoenix looking thing, along with there's a little ball of solar energy that goes into when you lay your healing thing down, and it shoots off at enemies.
The super also will buff your party for whoever's using any solar weapons.
Oh yeah, it gives it a damage increase, doesn't it?
Yep, damage increase and heavy scorch buff as well.
Oh yeah.
Which is gonna be nice because I'm
Then-
tired of running well and Daybreak sucks.
You're just gonna start burning everything down.
Hell yeah.
And for Arc, we have one of the things that people have been asking for the longest, I think, is the Blade Dancer Super from Destiny 1 for Arc Hunters. And they're kind of getting it, but the main issue with that super was closing the gap. So what you can do now is you get this little knife and you throw it, yellow flash from Naruto, teleport to it, and do this big AoE attack of Arc energy. And you can do it up to 3 times, so you get a little blink all over the area.
I'm gonna fear
Just
that
destroying enemies.
Crucible.
It's real. It's gonna be sad trying to hold down a point, and then you just get blinked on, and your entire team gets decimated.
Yup.
But the next thing that they jumped onto, which I'm actually very excited, and I've been waiting for this in Destiny for a long time, they're adding new subfamilies to the weapons. So normally you'll have like a precision frame assault rifle and an aggressive frame. The precision frame can hit to farther ranges, but hits less damage. The aggressive shoots slower, but hits for more damage. They're adding new ones, like new subsidies to that. They have this healing frame assault rifle where you can go seamlessly from shooting an enemy to shooting your teammate with it in the back, and it'll actually heal your teammate. Or they
That's
have
gonna be
like
very useful for raids.
all in-game content is what was thinking in my mind. People are going to be rocking those. Make sure you got your heal guns out. Another one that they showed, which I'm really excited for, is the tracer rockets. In a sidearm. So you're gonna have a little sidearm that's gonna shoot slow moving, either tracking rocket. I'm guessing some of them will have tracking, some of them won't, and they'll shoot off little rockets that'll go in and actually do like AoE damage. So you have another type of AoE damage that's not in like a heavier weapon like a rocket launcher or a grenade launcher. There is also, they're doing a power rework, which everyone, including, or not everyone, but a lot of people in the community and me kind of scared when that happened, or when that was announced, because there was talk about them dropping everybody's power level down to 1 and doing it like an actual leveling system, essentially taking away all the progress that you've earned. But they came at it with a different way and did what's called Fireteam Power and Fireteam Finder. So Fireteam Finder is a looking for group kind of thing where you can matchmake for endgame activities and other such, like the different activities that are in the game. But those endgame activities, they have what's called Fireteam Power, to where you can have someone who's been playing the game for months and it's gotten up to the highest light level in the game, and you can have one who literally, the guy who's the friend of that guy who just downloaded it today, go into the same thing and it'll actually boost you, like, I think they said 5 or 10 levels below your teammate that's in that higher bracket.
That's gonna be really nice for when we eventually get Bobber back into Destiny.
Ha!
You won't have
Ha ha!
You won't have to worry about playing it all the time because he'll be at that level, because we'll bring him to that level.
Good luck.
And the last thing they really talked about at the game showcase is that they've been going on like a season pass, four season passes per year kind of model, and they are switching it up. They're going to call episodes after the Final Shape. And how it goes is that they're going to have the big annual expansion of Final Shape, and these new episodes are dealing with the aftermath of what happens in that story. They have, the first one is called Echoes, and it looks like it deals with the Vex race that's in there. The next one is called Whispers, which is looking like it's dealing with the Scorn, which is a race that was kind of created in the midst of all this fighting between light and dark. And the last one is called Heresy, which looks like it's going to be us finally clearing up everything with the Hive.
Pretty much
But
tying up loose ends like Dark Saga.
Yep. And then it says that each episode is going to have 3 acts, which spread out between 6 weeks each for each act for one episode. Then each act is going to be adding new artifact perks, season pass levels, which actually I didn't think about this when first reading it. You're not going to have your entire pass unlocked until the end of the year with these episodes. Your season pass will be time gated, essentially. Each act of an episode, I think they said, is supposed to unlock like 50 levels, and there's going to be a total of 150 now.
Okay.
And then it'll unlock new weapons. For each act is going to have like their own seasonal weapons that they'll have. And if I remember correctly, they said that there's also going to be new exotic mission. There's a new exotic and new exotic mission every episode. But that was really all they talked about the showcase. They also talked about how the controversy that's been going on with Lightfall, and how they want to show the community that they are actually doing better, and they want to show that through their action, or how Final Shape is going to be. And they essentially told us, just wait, We hear your feedback. We're going to communicate with the community more, and we'll show you what we have in the final shape.
I think that wraps up a lot of the news we had going on. This was a double episode this week, so we recorded 3 hours, so whoop-de-doo. God, I'm so tired. I know everybody wants to go to bed, so I'm just going to end this here. I want to implore everyone to go check out all of the topics that we had to cover today, from the Destiny 2 showcase to all the other stuff of movies, video games, AI, music, the bourbon whiskey. Make sure to check out all the other podcasts that CJSW has to offer. And once again, I want to say it's been an absolute pleasure to spend this time with my wonderful friends, Blaze,
Tired.
Gemini,
The pleasure as always.
Menace,
Slowly dying.
and Subset.
Heyo!
I love how it's always Heyo. It's never anything other than Heyo.
Because people who play video games
Doesn't matter whether it's the intro or the outro.
It's just always Heyo. You know
Again,
what? Keep it
people-
going. Keep it going for all
Because
of
you
time.
know where I got this from.
I love how like Angel's got
Even
that
Steve could move
YouTuber
with those
voice
cards,
right
and
now.
all he could say is "Heyo."
Oh, shut up,
Heyo.
Go, Steve.
Shut the f up, Steve.
Jesus Christ. Anyways,
All right, so this is my bit now.
no, that's fair. I'm not gonna stop you from having a bit. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this cavalcade of weirdness and topics that we all just truly care about and love. Anyways, we're all gonna go to sleep. You guys have a great rest of your day, and we will see you in the next one. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, beep it about boop beep it about. Another intro, another amazing start. Okay, awesome. This is the second recording, and I'm already sick and tired of your bullshit, Angel.
I'm always sick and tired of
Robert's a
you.
bitch.
Future Bobber, I hate you.
Again? Come on, dude.
Yeah, different episode, different recordings. Come on, man. Man, you gotta do the same thing at the end, please.
At the end, okay. I'm just glad that we didn't get the fucking. You know what? I'm not gonna mention it because I don't want to bring it up. Anyways, so greetings.
Future
all.
Robert's a bitch.
I hate you. Greetings all. No, that's not the fucking intro that I do. I do
Greetings,
the intro
Lorraine.
beforehand, and then I say hello,
Greetings,
everyone.
human.